Law enforcement shootouts with fringe groups are nothing new, but usually they're located in remote or deserted locales. The risks are catastrophically higher when the organization under attack is headquartered in a crowded city, as Philadelphia found out this week in 1985, when its police force badly miscalculated an assault on an anarchist organization called MOVE.
A barricaded house, bursts of gunfire through the day, tear gas and water cannon. That was the scene today in Philadelphia as police confronted members of a radical back-to-nature cult called MOVE. And just minutes ago, that house burst into flames after an early morning shootout had evolved into a standoff. Chris Kelly is there.
The siege began about daybreak. Police say they attempted to serve arrest warrants on 5 people inside the barricaded row house. The building was bombarded with tear gas, and then police say gunfire erupted from inside the house. The neighborhood sounded like a war zone.
It was a war that had been brewing for more than 7 years, ever since the first confrontation between the police and the radicals.
The self-proclaimed revolutionaries and anarchists, calling themselves MOVE, short for Community Action Movement, have been preparing for a confrontation with police for weeks. For 5 years, the group has occupied a house in West Philadelphia. Last May, the MOVE people, brandishing firearms, refused to allow a health inspection. 11 arrest warrants were issued. Despite their radical beliefs, the members of MOVE maintain their organization is non-violent.
Our weapons are here strictly for defense, not for the shooting of any cops, but to stop the cops from killing us.
Philadelphia police have been keeping close watch on the MOVE group, but have made no forcible attempt to enter the house, waiting instead for court action, which would enable them to seal off the MOVE people and starve them out.
They'll completely shut off food. They'll get nothing. Even a fly wouldn't be able to get through when we get done.
Last night, the courts gave the police the go-ahead, and early this morning, they moved in, setting up barricades. No one is allowed to approach the MOVE house. Perhaps 25 people are inside. Electricity and water have been shut off. The entire operation took place without violence from either side. Now, the situation is frozen. The MOVE people say they'll not shoot unless shot at, but they will not leave their house.
5 months later, the confrontation finally turned violent.
Shortly after dawn, bulldozers knocked down the fences surrounding the 3-story Victorian-style house that had been occupied by a group called MOVE. MOVE refused to respond to charges of housing and health code violations over a year ago. Police spent a year staking out the neighborhood, and this spring spent almost 2 months trying to starve out MOVE members and prevent violence. This morning, police ordered them to surrender. The orders were ignored. The first police sweep through the house was fruitless. MOVE members had hidden in a basement. An hour later, as fire hoses flooded the basement, several shots rang out, answered by a barrage of police gunfire. In all, 1 police officer was killed, 13 people wounded, including at least 8 police and firemen.
9 MOVE members were arrested and convicted of third-degree murder. The remainder of the group relocated to a new house in West Philadelphia, where now, 8 years later, trouble had boiled over again after neighbors complained the house was a headquarters for terrorism and crime. Philadelphia's new mayor justified another police assault.
I am totally convinced that the organization is bent on confrontation, is bent on violent confrontation, is bent on destruction of the system.
It was just a disgrace. I think something else should have been done before it came to this.
At least half a dozen explosions rocked the area. Bullets ricocheted in the streets and snapped through the air 2 blocks away. Despite the massive firepower, officials say they have been at a standoff since midday.
The standoff ended when the police made the unprecedented move of dropping a percussion grenade on the house. But the result was a firestorm that spread rapidly, destroying 61 adjacent houses. The next day, stunned residents took stock.
You don't drop nothing like that in a row house. These houses are made of tissue paper almost. They're not no strong houses.
To destroy a whole neighborhood like that in a matter of hours is
It's uncalled for.
The mayor says he isn't sure how the money will be raised, but the victims will be compensated, the houses rebuilt. By Christmas, he hopes.
To look at people talk with me with tears in their eyes, who've lost everything, it's not easy.
The money may be raised and paid, lost clothes and furniture replaced, housing restored. One thing is probably lost forever: the sense of neighborhood.
I've been living up for about 8 years. I'm ready to get out of here. I don't want to look at it.
The bombing resulted in the deaths of 11 MOVE members, including 5 children. In 1996, a federal jury ordered the city to pay $1.5 million in damages to the group's survivors. Despite all the wreckage and carnage, 30 years later, MOVE remains active, and Philadelphia is still known as a city that bombed itself.